Welcome to the All Things Energy podcast. We're here to power up your understanding of the energy industry with some electrifying topics and some stellar guests. So jumping right into it, I'm super excited to have with us today, David Conklin. He is the president of Little Guys Movers. David, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got a couple other things going on. We'll talk a little bit later about, including a new winery open up, right? Adelphos Cellars. You and Jim Irwin launched that thing.
Yeah, super excited about that. It's been quite a challenge, a few years coming, but now we have it open and we're super excited.
Man, that's great. Well, listen, we'll kind of jump in. I kind of like to start. Are you a West Texas guy? Did you migrate out to West Texas? How'd you get out to West Texas and Lubbock?
No, I'm a hometown boy. I was born in Plainview. My dad owned a pipeline company. So when I was young, we moved around a lot. I went to first grade in Montrose, Colorado, second grade in Plainview, third grade back in Colorado, a town called Colorado City, a small town. Fourth grade in Tuba City, Arizona on the Navajo Reservation.
Wow.
Fifth grade back in Colorado, and then in sixth grade, I think my mom finally said, we're not traveling anymore. And so they bought a house in Lubbock. So I've been here ever since.
That's great.
Yeah.
I've got similar stories, man. Bounced around until we moved to Texas and then finally made some roots. But tell me if this is true or not, but moving around a lot whenever you were young, did that kind of prepare you to be a little bit flexible? A little bit kind of, you're having to adapt to new settings, environments, friendships, so on and so forth?
Yeah, I think so. I think you just learn that, to this day, I can just go into a room and make friends with anybody. That's right. Yeah. So I think that helped me.
And that's really valuable as a business owner.
Yeah.
Being able to walk in and be like, you know what? I'm going to establish some relationships here. This is part of what we're doing. It's good for me, good for business. But I tell people this skill set, I tell my daughters, building relationships is one of the most valuable, I hate to call it a skill set.
Yeah.
But it serves you in every facet of life.
Well, and really, I just like people. So I enjoy visiting and meeting new friends and getting to do that. But I think that when I was young, that was a skill that I learned. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And so, when did the kind of the entrepreneurial business owner journey start for you? Did it start younger? Did it start later? I
think, around college age, when I was in college, I learned to make boots, custom boots. I had a little shop and I would always be doing that and selling some boots. And so I think, somewhere around 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then was there something in you that's like, I kind of like doing this thing for myself. I gotta work hard, but I get what I keep, or were those things kind of hitting you, or just like, I'm just going to kind of do it because I can do it?
I think, it was an evolution. I went to school to be a teacher and I was an ag teacher for a couple of years, and, the kids were great, but the politics wasn't fantastic. And I decided, I'm 24 years old. Am I going to do this forever?
Yeah.
And so I had an opportunity to buy another business in town, Flint Boot and Hat Shop. And so I bought that and jumped off to be an entrepreneur, and everything's been going since then. That was 30 years ago. How
did Little Guys Movers come into your kind of...
Yeah, a real interesting story. The guy that started, so Little Guys is technically a franchise.
Yeah.
And so, and there are a couple of more franchises now, but forever, for 20 years, it was just me and the corporate stores.
Yep.
And so we'd put in multiple locations. And but the way that happened was my father-in-law and the guy who started the company, Marcus Watson, his father-in-law, played football together at Baylor, were roommates, lifelong friends.
Yep.
And so when I married in, he married in, we started seeing each other. And every year I'd see him a couple of times a year, and he would tell me about Little Guys. And we opened a new store in Fort Collins, Colorado. The next year it'd be like, we opened a new store in Norman, Oklahoma. And then like the third or fourth year, he said, I think we're going to franchise. And I was like, hey, I'm interested, interested in that. So that's how it started. February of 2007.
Were you the first kind of franchisee?
I was their first franchisee.
Yeah.
And their only franchisee for nearly 20 years.
Yeah. And was it for the Lubbock market, or was there
Lubbock,
geography?
Yeah.
Yep.
Lubbock was the first one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when you started in that, you said 2007?
Yeah.
Yep. Do you know a lot about moving?
Zero.
Yeah.
Never used a mover. Never used a professional mover in my life.
You were the first professional mover as the business owner.
Right. I did not dream about growing up being in the moving industry, although it's a fantastic business to be in. It's a high stress. Yeah. It can be a high stress situation for people. And so it gives us an opportunity to really serve them. Yeah. It gives us an opportunity to really make, other than just moving furniture from point A to point B, which obviously is what we get paid to do. But in reality, we get paid for a lot more. If my guys can show up early, in our industry, if you just show up early, you're ahead of the curve.
Oh, that's good.
And so if we will just be really professional on the phone, follow up with the customer, let them know what's going on. If the crew will get there early, shake their hand, look them in the eye, introduce themselves, then you can kind of let that client be at ease, and they can go focus on all the other things that they have to do.
That's right.
House closings, moving their utilities, all the other things that happen. And, then we can just take care of the moving for them. So it's a strangely satisfying business.
Yeah. What convinced you, or what put it in your mind? I'm going to train and put the value of showing up early, because that's unique. You said it. Not many people do that, especially today's day and age where just everyone's kind of running their own thing. Yeah. What about showing up early? What about that was like, I'm going to really emphasize this?
Well, and really Marcus, kind of had the system down, but he just said, people are in a high stress mode, and let's just call it like it is. A lot of movers don't show up. And in this industry, sadly enough, if I'm moving and my job's $1,000 and somebody calls and they have a $2,000 job, sometimes they'll just won't show up. Yeah. They just won't show up, which, I'm really proud to say that we don't ever do that. Yep. We have got really great systems, and we've got good things, and for sure, long before little guys, I knew the value of relational business. Yep. And I think that's just something that God put in me from a long time ago. And so my values aligned with Marcus's values and with their systems. And so we just knew a long time ago that was the thing. And we just call it the show. Like, there's part of you got to do the show, man. It's not just about moving the furniture, but you got to show up early. You got to park right. You got to shake their hand. You got to look them in the eye. You got to put the DJPs, which is the door jam protectors, on. You got to do all these things that make them relaxed. Yeah. And then guess what? You have a good day. Yeah. And they're not micromanaging you. And guess what else? You're going to get a really nice tip at the end of the day.
That's right. That's so good.
But if you don't show up on time,
everything just begins. That's right. Man, I was probably, I think I was a freshman in college. I remember this so clearly, David. I came home from college, went to college in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I came home to Dallas, and it was like a midweek kind of church service. Don't remember what was said other than this one statement that our kind of senior founding pastor said, who's actually a Lubbock native, started Trinity Church way back in the 70s. Cool. More sheets. Anyway, he said, let me just stop for a moment and tell you, buying and selling a home with your family, moving your family, is a highly spiritual transaction. Yeah. It impacts your family in ways financially, logistically. And he kind of just took a moment just to kind of put this emphasis around the moment of buying and selling and moving your family. And our family had moved a lot growing up. But there's something about that statement that stuck with me. I didn't know that my career professionally would be in the real estate business, right, helping clients buy and sell and owning a title company and so on and so forth. And I've said this over and over. It is such a privilege and an honor. anytime we get to work with, serve, represent families at that significant moment of their lives, just like you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So I love hearing that kind of value in doing that. My dad worked for a moving company, I think probably college or whatever. And so because we moved so much, he could pack a truck like a puzzle piece, like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, that's the way to do
it. Every volume of square inch, he had it absolutely masterminded. So awesome. Kudos to the moving industry for training that. So
that's awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
So kind of tell us, how did you move from running a Lubbock store to now all of a sudden there's more stores and locations you guys are running? How many stores now and locations are you guys overseeing?
5. I have 5 locations.
Yep.
Yeah. Lubbock, College Station. College Station was the second location. We actually had a location in Tulsa.
Yeah.
And it was early on. I wish we failed there. I wish that I had an opportunity to do that one again, because I think I could be successful there. But Tulsa is a tough town.
Yeah.
Not a tough town like, just a tough town for us in that industry to do business, because it's kind of like the Midland, Odessa of Oklahoma.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of oil.
Yep.
And there's a lot of natural gas. And we just really struggle to find good quality employees. Yeah. And in the moving industry, that's just really all you have.
Yeah.
That's our product.
Yep.
Those guys that go out there. So we're in Lubbock, College Station. We have an office in the northern part of San Antonio, Bernie.
Yep.
We have an office in Greensboro, North Carolina, and Wilmington, North Carolina. And those all have a lot of college guys in.
Yep. Yep. Greensboro, North Carolina, and Wilmington. Now that's not Texas. How did those get on your radar?
Well, so early on when it was just the corporate stores and us, they were building a line. Oh my gosh, I forgot to turn that off. They're building a line out to the East Coast, and we just kind of hopped in with them, is what happened.
Well, North Carolina is I kind of like to say their growth, their value systems, it really aligns a lot with what you see happening in Texas.
No, it actually really does. We have, in those stores, are very successful, and we have really good employees, and the people in that area are, they're just kind of like West Texans.
Yeah.
They're very good.
Well, my dad's from North Carolina, and my dad lives in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Oh, really?
So
okay. Well, good.
I should have called you whenever we were getting him moved a few years ago.
Well, that's awesome.
But a lot of my family's North Carolina, and my dad brainwashed me as a young kid in the 80s to be a diehard Tar Heel fan, watching Michael Jordan shoot some jumpers. Well, it sucked me in.
I learned you are a diehard Blue Devil or Tar Heel. There's no in between.
There's really not. There's really
no
not.
in between.
No, there's not. There's not. It's a fun sport to follow, especially if they're in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
And so, obviously having 5 stores, you've got a great team of people that you lead and manage, because like you said, your people are your most valuable asset.
Absolutely.
So kind of building up over the years, your leadership team and systems, has that been kind of a learning process or something, trial and error?
Oh yeah. Well, a lot of trial and a lot of error.
That's right.
But some success in the middle of there. My right-hand man, Michael Pruitt, is my general manager for Little Guys, and he's worked for me for 25 years.
Wow.
Or I should say we've worked together really for 25 years, because he puts up with me some days. And so he has been an instrumental part of the success of our company. And so, and then, I think leadership is super important, to lead from the front. And one of the things that, and I didn't coin this was, again, a Little Guys Marcus Watson thing, was just do the right thing.
Yeah. Just
do the right thing. Pretty much everybody knows what the right thing is to do.
Yeah.
It's funny how innately we kind of know what the right thing is to do. And, I have a philosophy on why that is, because of God and the Holy Spirit. But, the value in that, in just letting the guy that's the first time he's on the truck, just saying, hey, look, man, if you break something, just do the right thing.
Yeah.
Just tell us.
Yeah.
It's okay. We we break stuff.
Yeah, that's
in
right.
the moving industry. We break things. We have a lot of moves, and we break stuff. And so I think between the value of just always valuing relations and valuing people, and just having this very fundamental, simple thing of just do the right thing has made our companies successful.
Well, and it's
not complicated.
It's almost shocking, and it just makes my heart sad sometimes when you look at a society that is just so short-sighted.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, they've been lied and deceived that, if you just kind of skirt the system, get around things, you can accelerate, when really the reality is just doing the right thing.
Yeah. Just do the right thing. It costs us a few dollars today.
And yet the relationship, the quality that takes place from it is worth so much more.
Absolutely.
I will never regret. Being in the real estate business for a while before we started our energy company, I could just go around town and say, I've replaced that hot water heater and I've done that air conditioning system. And I've just, because the circumstance required all right, we just got to step in and do this right thing here to make this. And you just do it.
And we do it, and there's times when we do things that we know we probably don't have to do, but we do them because of the value of that relationship.
That's right. Yep. Well, transition with us to the winery business. How did this Adelphos Cellars come onto your radar? You and Jim, as you guys kind of partnered. Give us kind of the story of this.
Yeah. So really, none of my stories are very short. So just if I'm going too long, just give me the circle. Yeah. But in 2005, Jim and I were friends, and my wife and I have 6 children. We have 5 daughters and 1 son, and the last 2 are twins. And I owned about 20 acres a little bit north of town. And I was asking Jim, I said, man, I need to figure out, I was still over at Flint Boot and Shoe Repair. And I was making a decent living, but not a great living. And I was talking with him one day, and I said, I got to figure out a way to pay for college for these girls.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I'm going to do it. And I said, I got this land over here, but it's not, it's a small acreage. What am I going to do? And he goes, and a little history on him. He worked for Texas A&M as the wine grape research guy here in Texas, in Lubbock, for a long time. And he said, have you ever thought about a vineyard? And I was like, no. And we talked about it a little more. So in 2005, I planted a vineyard. So that's where we got started in the grape business. And so I had that for only about 6 or 7 years, and then Little Guys started exploding. Yep. And a couple of years later, I started Little Guys in 2007. And then we started putting in more locations. So I told my wife, I said, we've got to sell the vineyard, because I just couldn't do it all. And but I loved it. It was fun. We learned a lot about wine. My wife had loved wine many years before that, but I learned to have a love for wine and appreciation for the process. And so in about 2011, we sold the vineyard, but I always wanted to get back in the business. And Jim and I talked about it many, many times. And the winemaker that we were really in love with and liked, his name is Manuel Lechuga. He is our winemaker now. And in 2018, a friend called me and said, hey, Manuel is available. He was working for another winery. And winemakers are like artists.
Yeah.
They don't always think logically, and they don't always make sense business-wise.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
Because their job is to make the best wine that they can make.
That's right.
Their job is not to make it linear or make the P&L work or anything like that. Anyway, and I've had known Manuel for nearly 20 years at that point. And So I called him. I had his number in my cell phone. I called him and I said, "Hey, are you available?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Come work for me." And he said, "I'm too old to move furniture." And I said, "I'm not talking about furniture, man. I'm talking about make some wine." And he goes, "Well, you don't have a winery." And I said, "Well, I do if you'll be the winemaker."
Yeah.
And I had previously spoke to Jim about it, obviously. And so 2018, we start the winery. We jump off the cliff. We drive down to Fredericksburg, or actually High, Texas, where there's some winemaking equipment sales people. And we buy a bunch of winery equipment and we start making wine. 2018. And it takes a couple of years to fill the pipeline up in the wine business.
Where'd you plant the vineyard?
Previous to that, my partner Jim had also planted a vineyard. So he's got 20 acres out where our working winery is out in the northeastern part of Lubbock County, Estacada, small community called Estacada, between Adelphos and Petersburg. So we put our winery there. He's got 20 acres of grapes. He's selling grapes to other wineries, but now we're going to start using some ourselves, or actually our winery buys them from him because they're his grapes, right? Not ours. And so 2018, we start making wine. It takes a couple of years again to kind of fill the pipeline up because you got to age your red wine a couple of years in the barrels. So by about 2020, we're ready to start selling wine, and COVID hits.
Oh man.
And it was kind of a blessing in disguise for us in the business because we were just fixing to, jump off the cliff, maybe buy a building, lease a building, open a tasting room, do something. And of course, everything was shut down.
Yeah.
So that kind of postpones the process. But the good news was that we decided early on in the wine business that a lot of people have lost a lot of money in wineries.
Yeah.
And we need to not be those people.
Yeah.
So we decided that we were not going to ever borrow any money to do this business. Wow. We were just going to fund it ourselves.
Yep.
Now, when we built this building, we had to borrow some money. But up until that point, we didn't have any debt. So, COVID didn't really hurt us. We didn't have a cash flow problem because we didn't owe anything. And so...
Did I read that in the COVID season, which I guess you can stretch that out as short or long as you want, because of the at-home wine sales begin to spike?
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe all alcohol spiked a little bit at that point. Yeah. I know the manager over at Specs pretty well, and he told me, he goes, I don't even like to tell it, but we just had monster years in 20 and 21.
Yeah.
But people weren't going out.
Yeah.
So they were purchasing their alcohol, I guess, and just taking it to the house. The wine growth in Texas is actually in a decline.
Yeah.
Total. But the small craft wineries are actually increasing. So I'm super happy about the industry that we're in and what's happening. So
what is the to more of the ignorant outsider, when you think about, Texas wine industry, a lot of people's brains kind of, flock to, Central Texas, Fredericksburg, so forth.
Yeah.
But I think educate people. I don't think people realize in this kind of, I'm not quite sure I'm describing it, the High Plains area, the, awards and accolades and recognition that this has been getting over the last, I don't know how much time, but.
Yeah. Well, really the wine industry started here in Texas. And that little area that you're talking about, they call the Golden Triangle of Texas, there's about 300 wineries. And so, between Austin and San Antonio and the Metroplex, Dallas Metroplex, that's that little area. And there's just so much population that it makes sense why the wineries are all there. But 90 probably, my partner Jim could tell you exactly, but I'm just going to say 95% of all the grapes grown in Texas are grown here on the High Plains.
Wow.
Yeah. So all the grapes are grown here. Most a lot of them are transported down there to those wineries, and then they make wine out of them. And, that's fantastic. But, we're starting really to get a pretty good influx of wineries up on the high plains, and, super excited about the opportunity to really promote that up here.
Well, and kind of what was the vision for, Adelphos? You said that it stands for brothers.
Yeah. So in Greek, that stands for brothers. And Jim's family and my family have been, not just Jim and I, but our wives and our kids have all been kind of intertwined. As a matter of fact, just a small side story, Jim and I, his family and our family have been meeting together in some home fellowships for 30 years.
Wow.
And so they've seen my kids grow up. I've seen their kids grow up. And now all of those kids are involved in really, if our children weren't excited and involved to be in the wine business, we probably wouldn't be.
Yeah.
So we're super excited about that. Jim's daughter, Sarah, runs the tasting room. His son, Garrett, is the assistant winemaker and the vineyard manager. A couple of my daughters, Andrea and Bailey, take care of the venue side of the business. So, yeah, we're super excited about all that.
Well,
it's a family thing for sure.
I'm married into a family. My wife's father, founding pastor at Church on the Rock, and so many of his, his daughters and kids have been a part of it, and it's a huge reward.
Oh, it's a huge reward. Yeah.
People work really hard and people say what they want to say, but my gosh, just the hard work and the reward that they get of pouring into a common place and vision is really, really, really special.
Yeah. And, I just feel really blessed to get to work with my children, to get to work with them and see them every day and and it's not always easy.
Yeah.
We also own a couple of fitness studios called F45, and one of my daughters, Lacey, runs those. And so, there's always challenges in business.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you take the luxury of speaking to your family different than you would anybody else.
Yeah, that's right.
Sometimes we've had some big knockdown dragouts, but it's been good.
Yeah.
Been really blessed.
That's great. Well, I'm going to transition for just a moment, here with our podcast. I love looking at the intersection as business owners in industries of how energy is having more and more of an impact on running businesses.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of curious in the winery, business. And now that you've got, this beautiful facility that's going up, which if you don't know, it's at 114th and Indiana.
Right.
And we're officially open.
We're officially open. We've been open for a few weeks, and we have had amazing support from them.
Really?
I mean, listen, we had our grand opening on February the 8th, and I guess this is a good thing. We, tried to be prepped for that the best we could. I don't know if you can ever be prepped. And you know how Lubbock is about new restaurants and new
Lubbock
things.
loves new stuff.
They do. And we were so blessed. We had over 1,000 people that Saturday show up.
Wow.
We opened at 11 o'clock, and by 10:45, people were there. We have this is a big facility. It's 15,000 square feet.
Yeah. Yep.
In the tasting room alone seats about 250 people. And then we have the venue, the wedding venue, and all that seats a whole lot more. Anyway, by about 11:30, all the seats were full.
Wow.
And there were people standing in line all day. And they were so gracious and so generous to, be patient with us, because we were definitely getting slammed. But it was fantastic.
So kind of tell us what all can someone get to enjoy and experience when they come? I mean,
right.
Wine tasting, certainly, restaurant food, kind of what all is kind of a part of that.
So we have a kitchen, but we have a limited menu. When we decided to do this, we definitely didn't want to be a restaurant. We don't want to compete with the restaurateurs. We love those guys, and but we have 2 or 3 hot items. We have some hot bread. We have some pizza. We have some charcuterie boards that are very popular. We have some 5 or 6 different desserts. So there's plenty of food.
Yeah.
But obviously our focus is the wine.
Yeah.
And so wine flights, wine tastings, And then, wine by the glass, wine by the bottle.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen our facility, you need to come out and look at it, because it was about a year. It took us about a year to build it. It took us a couple of years in the process after we bought the land to get everything finalized with the city and get everything going. And but it's a kind of a modern Mediterranean design, very clean and simplistic, but we'd love to have people come out and check it out.
Well, our team enjoyed the grand opening, spoke so highly of being out there. And I know my wife and I, we've driven by a few times. It's like, okay, we just got to have a date night and go out.
Yes, you do.
So kind of tell me this, as a business owner, you kind of look at, operational P&L and so forth. Am I exaggerating to say that the energy exposure and cost and so forth has been a growing line item?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. From in all the businesses that we run, it's a major part of the thing. And listen, I feel very fortunate to have got involved with Rise Energy and with you guys, because your team has been instrumental. And of course, the winery in this big building probably is the biggest that we've ever faced as far as energy cost. Although, all those trucks driving down the road with diesel, are a lot too. But your team came in and really helped us design and come up with a good game plan.
Yep. Well, and I think being a business owner, I think that's really the perspective we take into everything. And that is, all right, you do what you do great. And we just want to kind of come alongside with our perspective and go, how do we minimize exposure? How do we, with these new kind of battery tools, how do we even add a revenue stream that it's crazy, never been there before in industry? We'll pay you.
Yeah, that was a surprising thing. And, I came to your group and, one of the things I wanted to do was figure out how to minimize the energy expense and maybe the footprint too, and I talked to them a little bit about solar, and we have some of that on the horizon. We're thinking about figuring out how to do that. But they came to me about these batteries, which I had no idea, but really they did exactly what you said. They're just like, listen, just let us work on this. We'll bring you a great game plan. They came to the building a couple of times. I mean, they were invested, and they did a great job.
Well, I think in the same token, it's really rewarding when you get to come alongside someone and in the small niche, and yet, the growing exposure energy has of really getting to serve and now kind of be able to bring these new solutions that quite frankly have never been there before. Right. That's really rewarding in the same way that, you're constantly trying to demonstrate to your moving customers the solutions and the tools and the ways that you stand out. It's really rewarding now to be able to go alongside customers and go, I know you don't want to think much about this. We don't want you to either, but we do want to drive some solutions, some tools. And hey, on some occasions we can pay you for energy, which is great.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
All right. I like to close with kind of our rapid fire questions, David. So I'm just going to kind of spit out some questions. First thing that hits your brain, you kind of let us know. What's your go-to wine and food pairing?
Wine and food pairing. Well, red wine and chocolate.
Red wine and chocolate. What kind of red wine?
A Cab, a Merlot, probably a Tempranillo.
Yeah. Any kind of chocolate?
Just any kind of dark. Yeah. Semi-sweet chocolate.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. What's a common misconception about moving companies in the moving industry? You kind of go, not always true.
Yeah, that they don't show up.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's kind of the key. And it's kind of sad, but it's just so easy to be ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Well, or here's the other one. We do secret shopper calls all the time, right? And so we answer the phone by the second ring, and we answer professionally, and you'll be amazed how many times you call and this is the answer: movers. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. Who again?
Yeah. Movers. Or if they answer the call at all.
Yeah. Yeah. If they answer the call at all. Right. That's one of my big pet peeves. Just answer the phone.
Yeah. Answer the phone.
Yeah.
But I think I think a lot of times they're just, they're out and they're just not answering the phone. I don't get it.
Yep. Okay. Here's the next one. Red or white wine? Got to pick one forever.
Oh, 1,000% red.
Oh, there we go. 1,000% red. David's on it.
Yeah. But now listen, I gotta plug a little bit. We have some amazing white wines, and I'm not a white wine guy, but there's some white wines that we have that I'll drink. Old Friends is a blend that our first vintage was named the best white wine in Texas by Texas Monthly, by the and also by the San Antonio Stock Show, won a double gold. We've got some amazing white wines.
And you said it's called Old Friends?
Old Friends.
I love that name.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I love it. What's one thing you wish every customer knew before hiring a mover?
What's one thing I wish every customer knew?
That you're going to show up.
Moving is expensive.
Yeah.
And so I just wish that they understood the expenses that it takes for us to get a high quality guy into their home. And the other thing that I wish is if they say they're going to have their boxes packed, that they would have their boxes packed.
Yeah, that's right. You get there and you're like, this is going to be hard to put in the truck, ladies and gentlemen.
We're going to pack. We're going to do a little packing.
What's your best stress reliever outside of work? Anything that just kind of brings you some peace?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have a lot of hobbies and probably some vices.
Yeah.
And one of those vices is smoking cigars. So
yeah.
I love to sit outside on a nice evening and have a glass of wine or some port and a cigar.
That's great. I love it. And then the last question I like to ask each one of my guests, and this is kind of looking back over your life, David, what would you tell your 20-year-old self? You know, what's kind of a life lesson, maybe a truth, a nugget that you would, sitting across with a glass of wine, you'd tell your 20-year-old self?
Wow. I think, there's a lot of specifics that I would tell myself about business and a lot of things that I could do to fast forward my process. But I think it's not really about business. It's not really about any of that stuff. It's about a relationship with Christ, and it's about your family. Yeah. And if you have those things, I feel like if those are the center of your wheel, then everything else kind of comes into play.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
So quit worrying about the end result and enjoy the process.
Yeah. The accumulation, the more, the grind, that stuff that we just think matters so much. It's like,
it's just stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just stuff. And it's nice to have nice stuff.
Sure.
And there's nothing wrong with having nice stuff. There's nothing wrong with being able to go to nice places and doing nice things, but that's not what's important.
No. That's good. If people want to connect with you, either with the moving business, Little Movers, or Adelphos, do you have any kind of websites or social media handles or anything?
Yeah. So littleguys.com for Little Guys Movers. Our local office here is got an easy phone number. 780-8000. I said it was easy. I nearly forgot it. And then adelphoscellars.com for the winery.
Yep. 114th in Indiana. You gotta go by.
114th in Indiana. Please come by, check it all out. We have been so fortunate. That's the old Stonegate golf course.
Yes.
So we have 26 acres there. So we're fixing to plant a vineyard there.
Oh, wow. We're
gonna have a whole bunch of green space, and so it's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's gonna be special.
And also, we've talked about the winery, but just remember that there's also a event center there. So we do weddings.
Yep.
We were so blessed. We booked 45 weddings before we opened. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Tells me some people are getting married out here in West Texas.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing. I love it. Well, David, thank you so much, man. It's been a real joy. We'll have to have you back again as you continue growing the winery and all the other things that are happening. And again, thank you for joining us on the All Things Energy podcast. If you want to check us out at our socials or at Get Rise Energy, or their website, getriseenergy.com. And if we can serve you with energy solutions, battery solutions, maybe commercial solar solutions, all we're trying to do is lower your cost and decrease that impact. Thanks so much again for joining us. Until the next time, make it a great day.
Thank you.